Good evening and welcome to the Training the Trainer podcast with Vince Stevenson. It's a cold night in London and I'm very much looking forward to talking with my guest, who's a good friend and colleague, Mr. Paolo Ghisleni. We're both
Yeah.
associates at the Trainers Forum, a group of international trainers who believe in formal and non-formal training and education. And in November 2025, Paolo successfully hosted the Trainers Forum conference in Bergamo at Casa del Giovanni, a remarkable venue for what was a very fine event. Paolo will also tell us about his life as a trainer, his association with the Trainers Forum over several years, and his personal progress since his recent move to Switzerland. Paolo, how was your day?
First of all, thank you, Vince, for having me, and good evening to everybody from the snowy Zurich in Switzerland. And my day was great. I'm just back from the Christmas break and fully recharged for a new year of adventures.
Okay, that sounds good. Glad you're up for it. So before we begin formally, can I ask you just a few questions about when you were a young man, your formative years effectively? What were your hobbies and interests? And do you think those hobbies and interests had any impact on you becoming a trainer?
Well, I would say that as a young man, I was very much into some activities into my local community, such as I was the first involved in sport as an athlete, and then I became a coach in my local sport team. And by these and other, let's say, social services that I did in my local community, I definitely had an amazing playground for developing some of those attitudes that I've been having by growing up and by starting, let's say, becoming a professional leader of teams and a professional, let's say, educator by helping other people in developing themselves, in discovering and pursuing their talents.
Okay, so that sounds good. You've got an interest in people. What can you remember your first sort of real training role? What was the first time you were paid as a professional trainer? Can you remember that?
Well, I do remember one of my very early projects, which I did, I guess, more than 10 years ago. It was with a private university in Milan, which was basically supporting a local team of educators in the university to basically have a structured way to develop ideas. So, by the use of design thinking, these, let's say, students of medicine were looking for creative ways of solving old problems and approaching in a more modern way some problems that were facing with their patients, with their the people they were basically assisting all day long. And that was one of my very first, let's say, paid endeavors, and I still remember that with a lot of excitement because it was a lot of trust that university gave to me, and but at the same time it was a very exciting endeavor, and it became quite a success that we are still remembering with the other members of the team with a lot of care and love.
Do you feel the weight of the responsibility on your shoulders at that time?
I definitely did. I definitely did. Also because I had not so much trust in my means. Well, I would say that other people were seeing in me maybe a talent or maybe some type of skills that I did not fully recognize on myself yet back then. Surely, I was very tense. I was very excited, but also somehow afraid of what could have been doing, what could have been happening during this experience. Luckily, the trust that I got awarded with was, let's say, well done, and I managed to carry out a project that was successful for me, but especially for those which were benefiting of that educational experience.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to your involvement with the Trainers Forum. When and how did you first connect with them, and how's that relationship gone so far?
Well, Trainers Forum was originally a project that it was born in a students NGO, because just to make a very quick, let's say, overview on the background of Trainers Forum, most of the European students NGO have their internal team of educators, so that they call it capacity building teams. So meaning having some members of this students association which have means for providing educational elements to the members of the same association. I was one of these, let's say, young educators within the students association, and Trainers Forum was basically a project of this association which was gathering educators, so young educators from many students association. And at the beginning, I was just another participant to this forum, to this yearly event. But then, by seeing how amazing was the type of atmosphere and the type of vibes that were created during this event, I decided to become more and more involved, to the point that me, along with other fellow trainers, decided to take care of the evolution of this project, to the point that from a yearly event, it became a proper NGO with a legal base, with some structure, and with multiple projects beyond this yearly event. And here we are now, Trainers Forum. It is a legally established NGO which is operating in several aspects and several, let's say, fields of education.
Okay. Now, you're from Bergamo, and what was it like to host the 2025 Autumn Conference in your hometown?
Well, it was a honor, first of all, and it was at the same time a challenge, because Trainers Forum, the event, is actually a little bit of a peculiar conference type, because it, let's say, it combines the educational, so the personal growth element during the daytime of traditional conferences, in which professionals of a given sector are gathering together to exchange information, to gather knowledge, and to network together. At the same time, is also bringing some leisure aspects of the traditional NGOs that are gathering students and are gathering youngsters. So still having this lighter aspect, which had to be combined in a facility which can bring both like training rooms, but at the same time also network events, parties, why not? And having this type of complex architecture to be brought into my city, and finding a facility, finding a place, and finding some type of local support for this to be organized successfully was a challenge. Luckily, it was a challenge that we did overcome, that we did manage to actually make happen. And I mean, Vince, you were there, so I hope that you were happy as much as I was happy from an organizer perspective.
Well, as an attendee, I had a great time. My wife had a great time. I think everybody had a great time. You know, there's a lot of work to do. 2 very intense days in the classroom for everybody, but also the socialization, those opportunities, your very kind opportunity of walking us around your city, which is a really beautiful part of Lombardy, and with great history, which you told us in great detail. I think everybody thoroughly enjoyed every moment of that experience. So thank you very much for that. Now, you talk about the student NGOs. How did that environment shape your career path to date, would you say?
Well, I would say that for me and for many of the people that today are full-time or even just part-time educators, that period, or the period during a students NGO, it's a great playground, meaning that is a space where experimentation, where research is actually promoted, and we had the chance to do crazy things in a good way, meaning that we did not have the boundaries that are given by a formal institution like a school or a university, or by the formalities that a company or a traditional business would require. I can just recall amazing sessions made in the weirdest of the locations and places, and utilizing maybe unconventional locations to create unique educational experiences. So I have just fond memories of those times, and of the amazing discoveries and experimentation that we did manage actually to carry out.
Okay, can you remember one or two of those strange and weird experiences and locations? Maybe not. So, I don't need the the GPS coordinates, but what were those situations? And yeah, because I think I've experienced a few strange things in my training life, which I've really enjoyed. But uh, it's an interesting one. So what you first?
Okay, well, I can usually, when I receive this type of questions, I can usually pinpoint in time and almost also in a geographical location uh, what was one of those amazing experiences for which the educational excellence was not just in the design of the educational path itself, but also in the choice of the location. And basically, we had these design thinking workshop in Paris, which were um, part of a self-organized event with some trainers, which are also happen to be friends. Basically, we happen to have this sandwich design workshop, which was mostly carried out in a supermarket in Paris, for which, design thinking is a lot about assessing the needs of the human being and designing a solution around it. So we made it the easy way, but also the funny way, for which we just selected one among us which wanted to have the perfect sandwich experience. We interviewed this person, and then we all went to the supermarket and we continued our session there, so that we could actually create the perfect solution for what were the needs of the human being for which we wanted that needs to be solved. So we actually had most of the session in the supermarket with the Parisian people looking at us a bit weirdly, a bit curious, somebody maybe even afraid about the type of behaviors that we had. But then we had our grocery session. We went back home, we continued our session, and we end up with a big learning points from all of us. But just the way we went through that, let's say, supermarket experience was just amazing. That taught me a lot in terms of how to use spaces that are not usually meant for educational purposes.
Okay, have you got any plans to do any crazy stuff in the future?
Well, I don't have plans, but surely have intentions. So I really hope to have more and more of this type of workshop, either as an educator or as a trainee. So I'm just very happy to join this type of unconventional, out of the box educational experiences.
I think it's interesting. A lot of people just think, when they think about training, they think about classroom training, but not all training takes place in the classroom. If you're a mechanic, it happens in a workshop or a garage. If you're a researcher at a hospital, it happens in a lab, usually with very expensive microscopes and things like that. So there's lots of different ways of learning and training and things like that. So what was I going to ask you? I was going to say, what is the situation with your job now? Could you give us a little bit of detail about what you're doing day to day and how's that panning out for you?
Yeah. Well, since almost 40 years now, I relocated to Switzerland because My main career is actually somewhere else compared to education. After my graduation and a few professional experiences, I actually got employed, full-time employed, in a company in the professional coffee machinery. And since then, I've been growing this career throughout the years. First in Italy, into a company based in Italy, even though it was a multinational company. And then for almost 4 years, then I relocated here in Switzerland. So my daily activity today is still into professional coffee machine business. And happily, I'm still managing the complexity of dealing with key accounts from all over the world, which are bringing, to some extent, similar challenges to the ones that I would have by being a full-time professional educator, in terms of finding a simple solution to complex problems, facilitating processes, managing teams and managing people, and finding, let's say, a satisfaction that is good for everybody.
So I don't want to name names, but I've worked with some people who work for these big coffee companies, with the machines and those kinds. So they sell machines that people can use at home, and Robusto. That's what I remember. Robusto. Is it Robusto? It's Robusto.
Well, that's one of the two type
It's
of
one of
coffees. Yeah, Robusta and
what was the
Arabica.
other? Arabica. Yeah, I
Correct.
remembered that one as well. So yeah, I get a few people from coffee companies. So I learned something. That's good. All right. So you've been doing this for how many years?
Well, since 2008, so that's almost well, it's 18 years this year, which have been, let's say, working in the professional coffee machinery industry, and yet not giving up about my passion for education. And as we are here to speak, organizing also activities or joining projects, also on a pro bono basis, especially nowadays, in education, in learning, in development, in facilitation, coaching, and much more.
So let me just clarify that, because I had an initial question running through my mind a moment ago. So you've been doing the coffee machine thing for a long time, which is great. But then you just mentioned all of these other different types of projects in education. And my original question was, do you not find that inhibiting working on the same thing all the time? But it sounds like you've got all of these spin-off educational potential roles. So is there a particular direction that you would like to move into in the near future, or have you got any plans to?
Well, in this moment, I'm very, very focused on developing what is my current role in the company, but I am not giving up about my passion for education. Also, because beside being a potential side career, it's first and foremost a great playground for learning how to deal with people, how to manage the development of groups and ideas, and how to manage processes, because the educational process is one of the most delicate and toughest of being managed. And some, let's say, elements, some principles that are into educational processes for sessions, courses, or even bigger educational events are very similar to the ones that you can find in a company, and dynamics that you can find in a company. So as of today, my focus is on my company and my role in the company, even though I'm not forgetting about what my passion and my interest in education, which I can still develop in my free time as a pro bono activity, as support for other people development.
Okay. Now, when we were in Bergamo, I remember having a chat with you, and you were talking about following ideas from, when things first spark up an idea in business or education, and scaling up. What attracts you to that whole journey in learning?
Yeah, well, as we started this conversation with, from the very beginning of my days, at least when I started to have some possibility to take responsibility over people, helping others, being part of an active part of my local community. I really liked, I really did feel well when I was supporting people in developing themselves, helping them develop their ideas, develop their potential. And this is still very, very present in my day-to-day action and my today attitude, meaning that I do love and I find great motivation in developing ideas. And I think that is one of the biggest engine for personal internal motivation. And that's something that I try to apply whenever it's up to me about myself, or also when it comes about supporting other people like colleagues or other stakeholders processes. So when I see that my task or my role or my activity is supporting in this direction, in the direction of helping people develop themselves, helping the people achieving their ambitions, achieving their ideas, realizing, bring concreteness in their ideas, that's to me is the highest of the motivation and the highest of the love that I can bring to what I do on a daily basis.
Okay. You speak with great conviction and passion about your work there. If somebody told you you're not going to be a trainer anymore, how would you react to that?
Well, I would find a way of finding the type of feeling and the type of vibes elsewhere, because I believe that there cannot be a world without people believing their, let's say, in their possibility, in their talents, in their skills, and in their dreams. Which saying dreams sounds a little bit cheesy, but I believe that we do all have a vision of how we want ourselves and the things around us progressing and developing. And I couldn't live without such a vision. And I believe that is the internal fire that is sparkling ourselves every morning when we wake up. Without having this type of hope and willingness to develop ourselves towards something that is exciting us, what are we? Are we just people consuming and producing? So we need to have that little spark inside us.
Yeah. Okay. You've mentioned you love to play with the boundaries of traditional education. What do you think? Which boundaries most need to be challenged right now? Do you think?
Well, you and me are here, let's say, joined by this common passion of ours, common interest of ours, and both of us are agreeing on the fact that education can be much more developed outside the traditional institutions. From one side, we grew up in traditional schools, so elementary school, high school, university. On the other side, we, especially those who had a corporate background, also had the chance to have, yes, less formal, let's say, less connected with school, traditional school education, but still connected with maybe big companies or big models or big certification that are somehow similar to a traditional institution. I believe that the boundaries that we, but not just us, but the world needs to overcome as much as possible are precisely these perimeter of traditional formal institution education, because the real, let's say, innovation is done outside this playground, is done outside the given rails of education. As I was mentioning before, the greatest and most creative period of my, let's say, educational path was when we were allowed to bring new methods, new theories, something that maybe is just growing in the scientific community, something that has been, let's say, discovered or put into theory just for a few years and didn't make the mainstream education yet. When we were able to apply and to implement those methods and to actually allow the people to check themselves how effective was that on their lives and their path? Well, I believe that was something that we should all learn from, because that is the moment when there is the real learning and there is the real growth of the whole educational world as such.
Yeah, I think there's the formal education, high schools. We have what should we call them? Higher education places in England, and I've been to some of them. Some of them are fantastic. Some of them are not so good. And unfortunately, I mean, I think what happens. So, for example, from my own point of view, I was very interested in Toastmasters. If you've been to Toastmasters, so you can learn to speak to an audience time and time again. You get good feedback, and that's really great for you. Then you can reflect on that, and then you can learn more theories about public speaking and that kind of thing. Think a lot of non-recognized education doesn't get its true reward. I think there's big gaps. I think there are some very, very big gaps. One thing, again, having said that, I think being a trainer and having worked very hard and got lots of qualifications in training and things like that, there's also a very big market for cowboys in the market, and what should we call them? Self-confessed experts. And but they've not really. They might be good speakers themselves, but that doesn't make you a good trainer. I think you need to study. You need to really focus on what you're doing, and the focus has got to be on your students and not on yourself. And I know some people, they are very, very good speakers, but when it comes to offering training, they find it very difficult not to speak about anybody but themselves. So that's something to think about, certainly for for me, and possibly for everyone as well. So there we are. It's an interesting one. I just told you a little bit about my experience there with non-formal learning. What about you? Have you? I know you're a big champion of the non-formal learning, but is there one moment in your life where you just had that aha moment and you thought that the people that you were helping, they really got it?
Wow, I think I have multiple of these aha moments, because as we are just keep saying, there is a lot of experimentation on one side and the discovery on the other side. So I would say that if I just mention other moments, I've been honored to be, let's say, invited as trainer in a project called Youth Trainers Academy, which is a train the trainer event that is based yearly. And in this event, which is a very intense 10 days event where we provide the basics of adult education to young people eager to enter the non-formal education world, in general of the education world. Actually, there is such an intense activity where a lot of experimentation, a lot of theory is implemented right away, that there are a lot of continuous discovery and continuous realization from myself and from the people that are joining about own's potential, about what is truly possible in this world. We do have the habit of running on usual way of thinking, usual way of doing. When it comes about getting new theory and having the chance immediately to test it, first in a safe environment and then in the real world, within the same week, that is a continuous surprise and it's a continuous, very intense learning. And in those type of processes, wow, you have multiple haha moments during the same week. And again, I was really, really glad to join a few edition of this Youth Trainers Academy event. And I really cannot count all the haha moments that either I lived myself on my own skin or that I witnessed to the participants of this event, which were just amazed themselves by their potential and by how this potential was unfolding before their eyes.
Yeah, I had lots of aha moments by when I was a member of Toastmasters. I think it's for about 3 years or so. So I was
Mhm.
already a trainer, and I went to a Toastmasters meeting, and I saw these men and women, and some of them were just so good, so accomplished, so well. I'd describe them as luminaries in the speaking world. And I remember thinking, I'm a trainer. I'm talking every day, but I don't talk like them. And I just thought, wow, if I could be half as good as them, I could really, really improve. And the great thing about that was every time I went to a meeting and I observed something and I got feedback, and again, you learn from other people's feedback in, there's lots of speakers, everyone gets some feedback. And very quickly, if you get an audience, like everything I learned at the Toastmasters meeting, I could generally apply some of those things at work the following day. And that was great because I swear that if I had to wait 2 or 3 months, A, I would have forgotten, and two, it would never have happened. So
Mhm.
having that opportunity to practice practically the day after was quite a revelation for me. And I think that had a huge impact on my confidence and my delivery skills. So I'd like to thank the non-formal training world for that. It was a great benefit to me. So thank you, all those people out there who are doing a great job.
Yeah,
Okay,
indeed.
so your ideal training world, I think, focuses on interests and attitudes and talents, excuse me, rather than credentials. So, how realistic? Again, we've got universities, we've got schools of higher and further education. What is there any tension between those two? Do you think?
Well, I guess that this is a relationship that is evolving, that is keep evolving, and I guess that it got better over the years. I mean, the interaction between formal education and not formal education, institutional education, and freelancing activities. But I would say that this pace that it was already, this evolution that it was already per se quite slow, it did slow down a little bit in the very last years, I would say, due a little bit also to the situation that the world is living. Now there is a lot of search for uh, easy and simplified answers rather than looking into the depth of the topics. There is a lot of going back to traditional means of education, but not just of education. So going back to how the things were used to be back in the days, and somebody would say back in the good old days. So I would say that this evolution and this merging of the two big words of education are a little bit stuck in this moment. But this, on the other hand, if we want to sound optimistic, this is the great moment for entering and creating and shaping one's, let's say, persona, one's brand, one's identity in the non-formal education world, because at a certain point, this pace of integration between institutional and non-formal education will start again, will start speeding up again, and there will be, hopefully in a few years or even less, a lot of demand for out of the box or original approaches to old problems. And those that will find themselves ready to provide these original approaches, well, these will be the ones getting the best deals and the best opportunities out there.
Okay. Right, Paolo, if you could redesign anything in today's educational systems, what would you start with and why?
Well, this is the 1 million euro, I would say, or dollar or Swiss francs question, because as I just said, now everything is a little bit frozen. And if I've had to think about something that I could take out of my Aladdin's lamp, I would say that I would love institutions that are rather traditional, like university or even high school, to get more and more support, inputs, contribution from outer sources. So to be a little bit less self-referred and to actually search for new ways of doing old things. So yes, the traditional path is important, but then keep challenging it with what's outside in the world. So not just relying on their own internal research, their internal understanding and vision of the world, but also trying to get themselves contaminated a little bit by other ways of solutioning problem, other ways of seeing world and other perspective to what are the biggest problems at the time.
Okay, right. We're very quickly running out of time, Paolo. So let's just do a final question. What's been your biggest challenge recently, and is that related to any of the things that we've discussed so far this evening?
The biggest challenge recently was precisely here in Zurich, finding somebody like me passionate about learning and development. Thanks to somebody now living in Barcelona, actually, I got to discover this beautiful, beautiful network called L&D Shakers, which joined a few months ago, and I'm very, very eager to grow into. And this is one of the few bits of hope that I can see out there when it comes about L&D. So let's say that I want to conclude our conversation today with a bit of optimism, meaning that out there, the solution, the opportunities are still present. We just have to dig a little bit deeper than what it is we used to be.
Okay, Paolo, thank you so much. It's been a great pleasure talking to you this evening. Please stay on the line, would you? Because I'd like to thank you personally. And
Thank
I
you,
just want to say that our subsequent sessions, which are coming up in the next few weeks, it'll be my pleasure to introduce you to two significant characters from the diversity, inclusion, and equity world, Anna Zelno and Andrea Martinez Helis. I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you,
Ciao.
and thank you everybody for watching us.
Thank you.